Hi everyone, it's Dave Bennett from T2HA It's December 21st, 2016. I'm going to have to take off pretty shortly for a Christmas performance, but before that, let me go ahead and walk through our latest template, why it's really important. We're going to include it in the SI tool, and those of you who bought the SI tool during the Cyber Monday special, you get this upgrade for free. This is part of what you already bought. Okay, for those of you that haven't bought it yet, you're going to want to see this because it's really important. I'm going to flip through these tabs real quick and make the points, and you'll get it. All right, so let me just start with something interesting. Okay, I did a keyword search. Okay, and when I scroll down, we can always talk about the snap pack, the map pack, snap pack. Different people call it different things later. But let's talk about organic listings. Normally, up in here, you see star ratings, certain number of stars, and so on. And where are they getting those from? Well, might be Google Plus, right? Or is it coming in from somewhere else like Yelp? Okay, well, let's come down here. Okay, what do we see down here? This is an organic result, a regular organic result, and it has a rating. See that? 4.9 out of 5 with 34 votes. Okay, that being the point, right? Now that's kind of interesting because where did this come from? Did this come from Google Plus reviews? Did this come from Yelp? Okay, let's look a little further down. Here's another website, and they also have a rating, 4.6 out of 5 votes. Okay, where did the stars come from? All right, that sounds interesting when you think about it. Let me move on to the next point. Let me show you something else. Okay, now if we come to Los Angeles locksmith and we look at the top performer, that's the first organic result in the list. Okay, uh, just picking on them. So let me see, no star rating on the main page, but it makes sense because you don't rate a website. You're not putting stars on the website. You put stars on products, you put stars on services, right? That's where ratings come from. You're rating a product, a service, a recipe, an event, something like that. But take a look down here. Now, here we see star ratings, but this is on Yelp. We sort of expected that. Okay. Having said that, take a look. No star rating here for something very generic like Los Angeles locksmith, and that makes sense. But let's say we were being more specific. Say we wanted a very particular service, okay? Los Angeles commercial locksmith. And of course, guys, transposed to whatever products and services you sell because the concept's the same, okay? So now we come down here, take a look at this. That's our main page again with no stars. But take a look at this. This is a deeper level page on the same website. Is that URL? Okay, same website, but it's got a rating, 4.9 with 7 reviews, specifically for commercial locksmith, the service that they have particularly here. Okay, that's interesting. Let's take a look at something else. How many different products and services do they have that have a star rating on their website? Okay, well, let's do the site colon check. All right, now this is pretty interesting if you look. Quite a few pages here that have a rating, but with that in mind, where is this coming from? Because it's always rating 4.9 with 7 reviews. Notice that? It's kind of weird that every different thing they have has 4.9 rating with 7 reviews, right? That's kind of like if you went to a website about recipes and all the recipes had the same rating with the same number of reviews, okay? So this isn't being done completely, but the question is this must be gathered from one spot and reproduced on all the pages, right? Thing that's important to realize is this can be done. Okay, so the question is, where's this coming from? Let me show you. Okay, here is one of those pages that has the stars on their website, just so you can see it. You can't see anything about stars here. It doesn't really make sense where it's coming from. You see some social links up here. Well, let's look at the view source code of this page. There are two things I want to point out that are really useful. Okay, canonical URL. Google's looking for that. Very specifically, a canonical URL helps raise the ranking of a website, okay? Because Google doesn't have to guess which page to show, page variation. It's putting all the link juice together into one, so the www version versus the non-www version, if Google saw both of those links, it used to have to split the link juice across them. Well, if you flatly say this is the one on both pages, then your link juice gets pulled back together again onto that one page. It actually increases your rank by nature of simply having it there. Okay, so of course, if I click it, it has to go somewhere, and it does. It's the same URL as here. But let me continue. If I do a search also on this page for something called Schema, okay, and I scroll down and look, okay, there is schema codings in here, and guess what part of it is? You can sort of read it, okay? There's like an address, postal address, street address, locality, address region, postal code, telephone. All of this is involved inside of a schema code. Come down here, there is schema specifically for rating, okay? Aggregate rating, rating value total of 4.9 out of 7 reviews. Okay, that explains where it's coming from. They just put the code into the web page. It's not coming from Google+. It's not coming from Yelp. They may as well have invented the number. They just put it here on their own, okay? Now, that's the plus side is yes, you can do that, okay? With Schema, you can put star ratings into your web pages, and if your website has any kind of site authority, if you've built up any kind of linkage at all, Google can go ahead and show it. And they may even show it if you don't, simply because there are very few competitors that have it. By the way, think how useful it is to have it, right? If I'm glancing over these, even though the #1 spot doesn't have the stars, this one does catch my eye, right? It'll tend to deserve a little time and attention from me. I may very well click on this thing and read it simply because it's got the star ratings, okay? I can consider that more important at a glance than any of the other entries down here in the organic section. Now, don't bother drifting up here. It's a different conversation. You use Google My Business to get up in here, and you can get up in here while you get down in here, okay? But what we're talking about right now is how do you get stars on your products and services, your recipes, your events of your websites using T2HA templates, right? And this is what we're covering. Okay, now let me continue. Okay, so I just got done showing you, they literally put the code in themselves. All right, now the plus side they did, so the minus side, it's the same block for every single product and service. So Google may or may not ever really care about that, and they might, but right now they probably don't, simply because none of their competitors are doing it. This is an extremely competitive piece to add to your website, and you can add it because we're handing it to you in our newest template development. We're handing you the coding that makes this kind of thing possible, as well as more. What is the real intent of Schema, by the way? Let me go a little further. Schema lets them be extremely specific and say, this is a service. Here's our postal address and our phone and so on and so forth. Here's the area we service, okay? What is that about? Let me show you. This is called schema.org. This is a mission put together between Google, Bing, Yahoo, and Yandex, where they all threw up a white flag and said, let's not compete. Let's all get the same thing to happen so the users only have to learn one language. And here's what Schema is. When we create web pages, we try to optimize them so that Google can figure out from all those signals what the page is about. So we try to get the keywords into the page title. We try to get the keywords into the meta description. We get the keywords into the H1 tag, the H2 tag, try to get the keywords into the body so that Google can sort of derive that the keyword's the most significant part, right? Otherwise, it has trouble doing that. If I say quick brown fox, which is the most important word? Quick or brown or fox? Well, you might say, well, fox is the noun, right? So you would think it's the most important word. And Google can tell that. So maybe for Google it is, but that's not true at all. People are trying to show attributes. They're trying to show that we're good for this particular thing or that. So for Google, they really may not know the difference between which is the most important word. Well, what if you said that your service was all the different ways to use the word brown? One of them was quick brown fox. Okay, if we tell Google something specific, Google can use that as a balancing point and compare everything else on the page. Okay, here's what Schema is. When Google comes to a web page and they see an address, they have to guess if that's yours or you're using it in an example, or maybe it's a mailing address for some franchise, okay? They have to guess that the phone number is yours and that it means somebody's there. This is what citations are for too, right? Helping Google actually know that. Well, Schema goes further. Schema is where you get to actually tell Google what your page is about. Hi, this page is about an event. This event starts on this date. This event ends on that date. This event was organized by this company. The name of this event is this. The image of this event is this. The description of this event is this. To book tickets, call this phone number. Now, these are specifics. You put them into the coding of the page. No human eye will see them, but they clearly and definitively tell Google what the web page is all about. And the only thing Google needs to know is that when it looks at the schema, the coding in the page, and notices what you say the page is about, that if it looks at the human element of the page, what people do see, that it sees a match. Okay? If I have a page about locksmiths, but my schema says the page is about Mother's Day flowers, Google's not going to see a match. So it's not going to rank higher or anything like that. But if I use schema properly to describe what the page is trying to say, that is bigger than page titles, meta descriptions, H1 tags, keyword density, anything else you can think of, image alt tags. The biggest thing is schema first, the rest next. And if you do that on your web pages, Google catches on. We built schema into T2HA Templates, and we put up some sample schema along with global variables to make it easy for you to pre-populate or auto-populate what your pages are going to be all about with schema automatically. And we did the same with canonical URLs. Okay, let me give you an example of how far it went. When they came out with schema originally, they said you use it to describe a product. Somebody said, well, what about services? Oh yeah, sure. So let's also describe services. So they came out with a dictionary. That's kind of what schema.org is. A dictionary of coding terms that we use to tell Google what our page is about. Page by page by page. It's a page by page thing, right? Now, when they did that, somebody else stood up and said, what about recipes? Okay, they built schema for recipes. Someone else stood up and said, well, what about a restaurant has a menu? So they built that menu schema, right? What about events, right? All that kind of thing. How far did it go? That individual industries stood up like dentists and said, what about schema for dentists? Heck, what about schema for locksmiths? Okay, locksmith. Just do a search real quick, locksmith schema. I'm just showing you an example. There's schema for whatever it is that you have. If you don't see schema for particular things that you sell, you look differently. You look for products and look at the schema for products. Take a look at this. Locksmith. These are all the different schemas that locksmiths would tend to use. Okay, very specific details, right? And this gives you examples. It lays out the text. It explains what's going on. Many of these you're probably not going to bother using, like accepted forms of currency, USD, right? So you're probably only accepting USD anyway. Or you're saying that our payment method is PayPal. You know, credit cards accepted is another one. You can accept this and that, but not that and that, okay? And so anyway, all this happens, all right? And this is incredible because very few people use it. It's a gold mine of opportunity for outranking your competitors hard and fast. Why? Because Google doesn't have to guess what your web page is about. It's guessing what everyone's web page is about when it tries to read it. Hopefully there are no coding errors. Hopefully it loads fast. Hopefully the keywords are being used sensibly and Google can kind of figure it out. But as an example, one guy said he built a web page called How to Get High Rankings in Google. And he said for a while his web page showed up for How to Get High. Now there's no match there, right? Guys who searched How to Get High and clicked on his URL pretty quickly realized they were in the wrong spot and they left, which increased the bounce rate for that one keyword. So that web page's rank on that one keyword kept dropping because obviously there's no match there. And that is how Google does it, by the way. Keyword by keyword, bounce rate, okay, to determine who's interested in your stuff versus someone else's, okay? So eventually you quit showing up for How to Get High. But with schema, okay, this is years later, when you put your stuff in, you are clarifying to Google what's going on. And this is not going anywhere. This is clear as a bell for all the big search engines. That's why they put up the white flag and build it. Okay, really huge. If you work certain days and times, you can specify it, and they give you examples of how. If you don't, you can just simply say something like MO-SU, which means 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Okay. There you go. So again, what if you just have products, you know, and not a particular thing? Well, there you go. Product schema. Here's all the different schema you can use for your products. And what's my point? And very specific properties. Is your product made of wood or metal? Does it use staples or nails? On and on and on and on and on. All that stuff helps Google understand what your product's about and what it should show up for. The more you work on this, what categories do you have available? Colors do you have available? Depth, anything you can think of. And the more you bother to use, they can show you in the rich snippets so you get more attention on the front page. They will rank you higher, and you can put in those stars, those star ratings. Okay, let me keep going or I'm going to run out of time. Okay, what do we build into the newest templates that come out? And we're going to give you some variations of these. All right, they're awesome. First of all, the templates is what you know already, where we have things like the rolling video, the banner blocks, okay, or looping video, banner blocks, images, whatever else you want. You scroll down. Well, I'm going to show you more that's going on with this because this is already a really, really awesome template, but there's just so much more that's happening with it now. So let me get back. So you can determine canonical URLs, they're built in. Do you want them to have www or not? That's actually a setting. And this works on the feed file for guys who are exporting, right? You can export different websites and choose www in some cases, not in others. How's that for crazy? Beyond that, what? Okay. Individual pages. Say you go to a certain page, like you create a page and then go into the page. Okay. What's your menu name? You can put in some kind of a keyword, boom, boom, boom. And then guess what? Down here, the canonical URL fills itself out automatically to make that happen because it helps your rank. Google loves seeing it. There it is. Okay. What else? Coding for page-specific code. Anyone ever had coding you wanted to put into a particular page, not globally, but just in the page? Well, if you could put it in the body of the page, you use the source code and you just paste your code in wherever it goes, like visitor tracking coding, if it can go in the body. But then there were times that people said, what about the header section, the head section? I don't have a way to put code just in the head section of one web page. Well, now you do. We built that in. So you can put in your schema coding too, okay? Same with the body. You can put your body coding here just so you can see it in one place. So you don't have to keep trying to search for it on the page to see if you put it in here, okay? So you can just put it here for efficiency. And again, this works with the feed files. You can auto paste tons of coding that go down the columns for these individual things in the feed files. It's hugely, hugely valuable, okay? Let me continue, right? There, with the coding that would go in here, just to give you an example of how this looks, Control-Alt, Control-C, okay? Just want to point this out, Control-V. Huge chunk, very specific, and we have different examples for different purposes, and you can go build these on your own. I'll show you how in this video in just a couple of minutes, so that you can actually create this stuff for yourself, complete with those aggregate ratings that we were talking about, okay? Best rating, average rating. Now, notice how we're using global variables for all of these. You know why? Why would we put global variables into the schema? So that every page all by itself can have its own specific one. So you can create schema for all the different things, product one, product two, whatever you want to do. And this is just, obviously just dummy information. But there you go. And this will fill out your schema for you. And what am I saying? Average rating 4.7, best rating 5, rating review count 37, and the price on a scale of 1 to 5, how pricey is our service? Assuming that the locksmith is a service because they drive out to you and, get you into your car or whatever. Okay, then that's our idea. And this is the credit cards accepted and the hours 24/7. Okay. And that schema, so it populates the schema coding automatically. How's that look physically on the page? You don't see it physically on the page. Come back and show you some of the stuff pretty soon. But where are you going to see it? Where is where I wanted to put it? Okay, well, take a look at this. Let me just do it this way. Okay, if I did this, view page source, okay? And I do a Control F and I look for the word schema, literally. Here it is. This is what the schema looks like on that particular page, okay? Now, I only built one schema block, so these pages you see on the example will have it. But there's completely a way to automate doing this easily so that you have different schema for each different product, each different event, each different recipe, each different service. Very easy. And if you're using feed files to run this stuff out, That's awesome. So if you wanted to create pages for every city, you could have the same service, the same offer, the same everything, but affecting a different locality, a different large metro area, city by city by city by city. So this is screaming awesome. It's absolutely hugely powerful for ranking in lots and lots of industries because so few people use this. Go look up any keywords and look for star ratings in the organic section. It's rare that you see anyone using it. So if you have your template is able to do this, you're on the inside of this. It's huge. Okay. Now take a look. There's schema generators. If you ever thought, gee, I wonder what the schema would be like for a different sort of thing. There's entertainment, okay, casino, nightclub, movie theater, whatever, internet cafe, legal, attorney, notary, right? Real estate agency, okay? Then what do? You fill in all the stuff and you generate the code, okay, and you check the code out, for instance. And guess what? This is the coding on our page, okay? So this is Google's structured data testing tool. Real quick, structured data is pretty much synonymous with schema. It means the data has been structured clearly so Google knows what it's saying, okay? The directories, by the way, do this. All right, take a look at this. Locksmith, our directories, when you get them, all the instances, they're doing this. So you can make huge use of it. All right, check this out. So here we go. It's a locksmith schema. Google knows that. It realizes that's what we did. The type is locksmith. Google recognizes it. It knows that. All the stuff is in here. No errors, no warnings. How's that for awesome? Okay, you're going to get that with your purchase of the SI tool. If you buy it, and for those of you who bought it already on the Cyber Monday special, this is coming out your way. We've got a couple of different templates that we're going to be sending you, different styles. Let me point out one more thing so you understand where we're still going also. This is a big deal. On that same Los Angeles locksmith.me, they got a link to a blog that's right here. This is neat. And you realize how they're making themselves a huge authority by writing topics that are related and kind of go bigger. Oops. Go bigger around all of their stuff. And so they're writing about related topics that stretch outward and outward, like securing schools with cutting edge commercial locksmith technology, right? So on and so forth. I'll tell you what, if you go reading this carefully, one thing you're going to learn, a lot of this was not generated by a human writer, but it's really, really close. So if you notice, there is a title. This is the article, right? This is the whole article. Title, the verbiage. It has one or more external links leading somewhere. It's got an image or maybe a video, but I think just images really on this particular blog, right? There you go. Now, what if I told you this has a lot to do with why they rank #1 for their keywords? What if I also told you that you could reproduce everything on this page, for example, in a day? Okay, complete with all the links, all the titles, all the topics, all the images, everything like this in a day with very little thought. Just kind of like breeze through it, make sure it all makes sense, do any little minor adjustments, and you're good. Now, you might say, well, I guess it's spun. No, it's not spun. This is not written by a human writer, but it's also not spun. It's using an AI writer. How does an AI writer work? In AI writer, when you type in some keywords, it goes and reads tens of thousands of articles on those keywords really, really, really fast. And while it does, it forms a bell curve to help itself understand what the first paragraph is usually about, the second paragraph, the third, the fourth, and then sentence by sentence, what those sentences are usually about. That way it can map out the probability that it can write an article that fits inside that bell curve nicely for you. And then it writes a completely unique article based on what it's learned. And that article will beat Copyscape. And then if you want, you can create spun variations of it at the press of a button. It's at least spun variations of a completely unique article. Okay. That way you can go put out press posts that point back to your website and so on and so forth. A lot of stuff to that. Why do I point this out? Because we did research. We found this tool, or at least one just like it, probably the same source engine anyway, that does this. And we said, let's build it in the software installer tool. So in the software installer tool, one of the things that we've added recently, and we're still refining, allows you to go get articles, okay? And you can view the articles you've created, okay? And you can also, like Car Locksmith Chicago, there's something there. It took seconds to build this. Doesn't read that great, but I didn't try very hard. I put in a couple of things real fast, but I should refine it to get the bell curve better. Still, just a touch of practice. That's the point. I can check out what the HTML code looks like. I can copy the HTML code so I can just paste it to a text file or stick it into my website right then and there. I could even spin it to create variations of it. Okay, so I go back to the text version, I can spin it. Okay, check that out. Spun the video too, right? You can spin it again, right? And it just uses whatever it's using. I don't even know how many videos it found or what, but there you go. So having said that, I could create an article. So you put in a main keyword, some additional sub keywords, and then you set some other settings. Okay, they're just some basic settings for the things you want, and the size of the article. Okay, you'll do a little refinement when you're done, and you'll be done. So literally in minutes, you can add lots of pages to your website, and in minutes, you can add lots of pages to external content, external blogs. All right, all of this is being built into the software installer tool. It's a really big deal. It's also being built, just so you know, into the physical pages as a new tool right there. Different than a spin rewriter, the article creator by itself, article rewriter, it's not really a rewriter. We'll finally name this the right way when we're done, but that's so that you can literally create a new page. You can do this, add new, give it a keyword, car locksmith or auto locksmith, whatever you want to say, right? Auto locksmith, right? San Diego, which may or may not be in the menu. It's up to you. It's going to create the page URL, going to create the canonical. I can paste in some schema coding, okay? And then for this, instead of finding it, I just hit the button, fill it out, hit OK, and it creates the content for me. I save it literally seconds. And it'll do the internal linking. That's another piece that we put in there into our toolbar. So for those of you who don't know, you'll see it later. In here, we created internal links. You can create a bunch of pages, download the feed file, hit this. It'll internally link across all those pages to the pages so that wherever the keyword is used in paragraphs, it links to the pages. And then you can even put a max count on it per page so it doesn't look funny by doing too many for any one link. And then what? Then just import the feed file again, okay? And by doing that, you literally created the same thing, but with all of the content internally linked hierarchically the right way. So Google's going to be blown away by it. Loves that. Google loves that. It creates link juice properly in your website, and it's push button simple. Okay, so what do you want to do now? Because I'm going to have to run. I actually saw my phone ring, so somebody's going to show up, and I got to take off. This is it. Through the end of the year, here's the deal. Get the software installer, and you'll get these templates thrown in. Okay, I want you guys to start using them. I want you guys to get comfortable with them. I want feedback on them. That's awesome. You guys are going to get treated incredibly well. Those of you who get it. Those of you who already got the SI tool, the $295 version during Cyber Monday, I'm going to include some of these templates for you as well, free. Okay, so don't worry about it. Those of you who have not gotten it, get it. It's not going to be bundled up like this going into the next year. It's too powerful a template. How do you buy it? Go to theme2html.com, our website, hit order form. Okay, right here, put in your name, email, company if you want, personal address, city, state, zip, country. By the way, why do we ask for your address, city, state, and zip? Because we're in Washington State and we're registered here. Same as Amazon, we got to actually take your shipping address because that's how we're taxed. It's based on the state you live in, whether you're here or somewhere else. Okay, once you fill that much out, then just skip everything here, almost to the bottom. Okay, and just get this one, the software installer tool. Hit yes. It's $295, which means you see grand total $295. Just buy it. Okay, then we'll set you up and give you access to it probably overnight or next business day. Okay, there you go. If I were you, I would do it. And this is the special we have for this holiday period coming through Christmas into New Year's. Get it now, because it's very cheap. If you do that, $295, you get everything anyway. There's like 58 templates in there, plus these next at least two that we're going to be adding. One's going to have the full screen width image blocks. The other one's going to have the banner blocks with a looping video. okay? So that you have tons of variability at your disposal with all of the ingrained new tools, so you can create star ratings for yourself on the fly and do a lot of other incredible things on the fly. And that's why you want to get into the software installer tool. We're taking care of external SEO as well as internal SEO now. So we are really to strategy level. We're kind of done building tools and now it's all strategy. That's what's going on. So you want to get in and get going with that. Finding nearby cities, it's all about strategy. Checking your site authority, all about strategy. That's what we're doing in 2017. Huge power, okay, and more automation. All right, thank you very much. Please get the tool. This is the right time to buy it. We'll set you all up. You'll be able to start rolling. You could have huge websites, powerful and ranking first or second or third week of New Year's. It's possible, especially if you figure out what's going on with Schema and start using it. You'll see the examples we have. You'll be able to modify them, take off of them. You'll get what's going on. Okay, thank you much for watching and enjoy the holidays.